Okay, so today we're going to finish the discussion on how to navigate in a Revit project. We started this last time around. And let's get started by opening Revit 2023. And we're going to open one of the files that shipped with Revit. And so again, to open a new model, you just hit open. No, or hit the home tab here, the little the second icon from the top. Yes.
Caesar, I don't think you're sharing your screen.
Oh, my bad.
Thank you.
Welcome. There it goes. Okay, so hit the home screen. The home screen is the second icon next to this blue big R that display the Revit user interface. And go to the File tab. And we're going to open one of the files that shipped with Revit. Last time we opened the German file, but it's too hard to navigate. We need something in English. So go to the File tab, hover over, don't click, just hover over open. You're going to see a drop-down menu popping up. And scroll down until you find the sample files and click. This is going to open the sample files dialog box, the files that ship with Revit. Is anyone in the class missing these files? I think last time, some of you were missing some files and we did some troubleshooting. I sent you some links on how to install out-of-the-box content. So just raise your hand or let me know on the chat panel. All right, so if you see these files, go ahead and open the file called RAC Basic Sample Project. RAC Basic Sample Project. Not to be confused with the sample family and not to be confused with the RME, because this is Revit Mechanical. What I want you to open is RAC, Revit Architecture Basic Sample Projects.
Caesar,
yes?
Maybe it's because I'm in 2024. I don't see that one. So if you're able to direct me to where I might be able to download that.
Good. Thanks for speaking up. I'll shoot you the Revit 2024. Sample projects. Download. So in this link that I'm going to send you, I'm going to put it in the chat panel. These are all the sample files that ships with Revit. You want to click this rack basic sample project, this house with the red roof. And here's the link.
Okay, thank you.
It will take you a few seconds to download. And if anyone else missing, this is 2024. There's another link for 2023. So pay attention because you won't be able to open a 2024 file in Revit 2023. By the way, I mean, this is the sample file that has some examples. This is the German file that we were talking about in last class. But okay, so we want to open rack basic sample project. Hit open. And we will continue exploring ways to find your safe inside the Revit environment and navigate in the user interface. So this is I would say, a conceptual model that has a very simple structure, set of structure of sheets. The project browser that you see in the lower left corner will display the list of views and sheets in the project. I want you to, what you see on the screen is sheet A001. And notice that the name of the sheet, the number and the name of the sheet is displayed in the tab. You also see the same information in the upper right, like around the center of the user interface. And then in the project browser, the view that appears in bold letters, it's also an indication that that is the active view. And so this is the list of sheets in the project. When you click the plus sign, you're going to see that a sheet is made of different views. Sheet A001 is made of 5 different renderings and a schedule. So views are placed on top of the sheet. They populate a sheet. And you can see the content of every sheet by just opening the plus sign of each of these sheets. Notice also that if you scroll up, you're going to find that some views have, this is a list of views, and they are sorted by type. So you have views that represent floor plans, 3D views, elevations, sections. Open, say, for example, a floor plan level 1. This is a representation of floor plan. It's basically a section that cuts the model 4 feet above the floor level. Let's open an elevation, open the south elevation. And you open up a view just by double clicking on it. So conceptual elevation, it just have a lot of nodes. But in here we have elements that are view specific and elements that are part of the model. For example, the roof, the wall, the windows, those are part of the 3D model. But then these levels, those are projection elements that are displayed in the view. Let's open another one. Let's open the stairs.
Could you say that again, please, Cesar? I missed. I always wonder what the difference between the blue and the.
Oh, you mean the this little the squares next to the views?
No, the levels. Some of them are blue, and on the
that's
okay, I don't know if that's what you were explaining. Sorry, if I'm jumping ahead, if you're going to deal with it later, it's okay.
Yeah. I'm going to deal with that later, but that is an awesome question. And you're the first one to ask me that question. I'm going to answer I'm going to give you a quick answer, but when we start talking about levels, I'm going to go more in depth. This is a reference level, and this is the one in black is a reference level, and then the other one, the level, is just a regular level. The difference is that there are views that are associated with level 2, and when this is black, means that there isn't any view associated with the level, so it's just a reference level. And we're gonna talk more about that.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe by the end of the class. Okay, so I opened the start section, and I also want you to notice how right next to each of these views, there's a little square with a blue shadow. And some views appear to have them, and some other views don't have it. So my power users already know the answer to this. But those who are new, the views that have this blue icon, it's an indication that that view is placed in a sheet. And so when I open this level 1 and I scroll in the window properties, notice that it's reporting in some of this in some of these properties. This view is reporting that this level, this floor plan level, it's placed on sheet A102, and the name of the sheet is plans. But then if I open one of these views and it's not, where it doesn't have the blue color, and you scroll to the same information, it's going to appear as empty, meaning that this view hasn't been placed in any sheet. So for somebody like sorting or trying to delete views that are not in part of the documentation process, you can quickly select the ones that are not in the sheet and delete them to reduce the file size. The other thing is, sometimes you see and this is not the case here, but sometimes the little square is half blue and half white. And that's usually the case of schedules. It means schedules can spread multiple sheets. And so what that means, there is a partial display of the schedule in a sheet. And I don't have that example here, but if I sketch it, it will be square with a diagonal, and then this will be blue. So that means that there is a partial display of that schedule in a sheet. All right, so I've been opening all these views and notice that all these views are stacking on top as views. Let's go back to floor plan level 1. Here you have a combination of the 3 types of elements in Revit. So if you recall my slide from the last time, in Revit we have 3 types of elements. We have model elements, we have datum elements, and then we have view-specific elements. And so model elements are things that are geometrical representation of an assemble. And so this wall is a datum element. It's a model element. Datum objects are work planes that are used by the model to define the location of certain elements like structural columns or levels. So datum objects are the grids. I don't have an elevation, but the levels, it's a grid, and also the reference plane. And then we have view-specific elements that are things that you put on top of the view to describe what the element is. And that is the label. Those are the text nodes, the dimensions. And they are view-specific because this object doesn't have a 3-dimensional representation, and they only live on level 1. And so Revit 101, 3 types of objects: model, datum, and view-specific. Then the other thing I was explaining last time is that the elements in Revit are called families. And a family, it's a collection of objects that share the same properties and the same physical representation. And it's a collection of objects. And an example, it's a door, a single flush door Let me isolate this one. Here is a door. A single flush door it's an object. It's a collection of objects. When I select the door, notice that I have a whole collection of single flush doors. They have the same properties, meaning they have a width, a height, a level, a material, a frame. It's the same collection of parameters, and they look the same. So they have the same physical representation. And so the variations of the different values of these parameters create a type. And a type, it's the member of a family. And so I want to close this 3D. Again, I am in the floor plan. And when your tooltip it's enabled to display in plan view, or in your is associated with the cursor, it displays those three pieces of information. So you see information about the category, the family, and the type. The category of the object you see on the screen is walls, and it's the name of the family is basic walls, and then the type is CL_W1. Sometimes families have subcategories. The subcategory, no, they have subtypes or subcategory, and then the subcategory here is called R1. Let's do another example here. I'm going to hover over this grid. The category is grid, the family is grid, and the type is A. Let's hover this element here. The category is plumbing fixtures. The family is sink, offset, color, vault, and the type is chrome, polish, chrome. So I'll open my deck to review again this concept. This is again Revit 101. Oh no, what's going on? Let's see. This is not the deck I needed to open. File, RF. There's. You guys see my screen? It says category, family, type, right? And so a category is it's a collection of similar properties. The category of columns, every column has a common set of properties. They have a height, they have a material, they start on one level, they finish in another level. Category is a set of properties. You cannot create categories. Categories are given by the Revit environment. Then we have a family, which is a collection of objects with similar properties and similar physical representation. All round columns are always round, and rectangular columns are always rectangular. And then the individual values for each of the variations create what's called a type. So think of a type of a member of family. So we have columns that are 6 inches, 4 inches, 9 inches. And you have rectangular columns that are 6 by 7, 7 by 7, 6 by 6. And those are the types of the family called rectangular columns. And so when we browse the family tree in the project browser, you're going to see the list of categories. And these categories are given to us. When you click the plus sign, you will see the family and the types. And when you hover over the element, the tooltip is going to display those 3 tiers of information separated by a column character, the category, the family, and the type. And it's also going to be visible in the lower left side of the Revit user interface. And so going back to Revit, that's exactly what's happening here. You know, this is when I hover this tag, it's giving me information about what is the category, the family, or the type. And when I'm looking at the project browser and I scroll to the bottom to open the family tree, you're going to see the category, family, type. Category, family, and type. Okay, so now let me show you how we can place components. And so a component is a family that you brought from outside of Revit and is placed into the user, into the model. A component is similar to a block in AutoCAD. It's living in a library. So you just browse into the library and load it. Last class, I think we troubleshoot. Some of you were missing the libraries, and I sent you some links on how to install those libraries. So hopefully everybody has them. But let me show you how you load a family. Let's place a family first. So say, for example, I'm looking at let's open the floor plan level 1. I am under views, floor plans level 1. And there is some pieces of furniture in this living room. I want to know what is this. So you just hover over, and Revit's going to display information about that object. And it's telling you in 2 places what that is. It's in the tooltip that you saw here, and it's also in the lower left corner. And so if you want to place that object again, you can just go and browse it in the family. I'm going to show you 3 ways of doing this. So in Revit, there's different ways of doing the same thing. So I'm going to go to the furniture. Again, is the Ottoman, sofa Ottoman. And I think it's this one, the 600 by 800. And I know this because the object was telling me what it is. So in order to place it in Revit, you just click on it, drag it, and drop it. And then escape to finish the command. Now notice that there's nowhere to be seen. And the thing is that families are sensitive to the work plane in which they belong. So a work plane, it's the level in which they live. When I selected the Ottoman, the existing Ottoman, and I look at information about the Ottoman, it's telling me that these Ottomans are placed in a level called level 1 living room. And so I need to make sure that I activate that work plane in order to be visible in this view. So I'm going to undo, and I'm going to do it again. But now, before I place the family, I need to be aware what is the work plane that is going to host it. And to set that, I go to set in the architecture tab. At the far end of the ribbon, you have a tool called set work plane. And when I click set the work plane, and these open the work plane dialog box, and you see a drop-down list of all the work planes in the project. These are all the datum objects, the grids, the level, and the reference planes. And I know that the Ottomans are placed on the level 1 living room. So you click and set that my active work plane, and then I hit OK. And now that is not visible to you, but I'm basically raising my active work plane, and everything I place moving forward is going to be hosted by that work plane. So let's try it again. The sofa, ottoman, you drag it, drop it, and it's not visible again. Let's do it. Let me undo it and do it again. Drag it. Here it is. You see the level is right now snapped to the level 1. I want to make sure that it goes to level 1 living room. And why isn't there? Oh, it's a graphic stuff. Never mind. I incremented the size of the Revit, and it's giving me some graphic issues, but it's there. Hopefully that works for you as well. The other thing is there are some, notice that the elevation from level needs to be 0 as well. It's like raising it up or lowering it down. Revit has this thing that it remembers the last input of everything. So if the person who last placed an object in the view change its relative elevation. And so if I change the elevation from level value, it's also going to change it. It's going to impact the project as well. Let's do the same exercise, but in 3D. So the very quick way of switching to 3D is the little house. This is the default 3D view. And it opens a view that is called the 3D in brackets. So every time you hit that icon, it's going to open the default 3D view. I'm going to disable this section box to display everything. This is probably what you're seeing. You see this entire project site. Remember the shortcut to orbit is shift and press the mouse wheel. And that place rotates the project around the pivot point that is the geometrical center of the 3D environment. Okay, so we're going to load some components here and place them. And again, I want you to be mindful of the work plane. The work plane is the horizontal level that hosts the elements. And so if you click if you look at the architectural tab and the very last icon, there's something called show. Show, that's what a work plane looks like. It's just what is the active work plane. A lot of these components are connected to levels. And when I drag and drop an object into the Revit scene, it's automatically hosted by this work plane. But this work plane, you can change it, right? So let's play in how to change work sets. Again, I am in a 3D view. Go to the architectural tab, enable the show work set, show work plane. And that's going to display this blue work plane. But let's change it. I'm going to set my work plane. Set work plane. And instead of level 1, I'm going to do it to the foundation. And then hit OK. And now the work plane actually lower it. And everything that I drag and drop into the project is going to be hosted by that plane. I am in the work plane associated with the foundation. Let's change it again. Set work plane. And now let's change it to the level called roof line. And then hit OK. And that raises the work plane. And everything I place, it will be hosted by that work plane. So the important part here is that objects in Revit are always, most of the time, are associated 99% of the time, they are associated with a level because it needs this information in order to properly schedule and to be properly placed in the 3D space. And these work planes or these levels are connected. The families are built to be associated with these work planes. So I'm going to go back and reset this, go back to set work plane, and I'm going to return it to level 1, meaning that everything I place is going to be hosted by level 1. On level 1, you can actually disable it. Disable the show button. Any question about work planes? The work plane is the geometry associated with a level. And so a level needs to exist in order for this work plane to be visible in this drop-down list. And we're going to talk about how to create levels in a minute. All right, so let's talk a little bit about selections. And so when you hover an object, this is the information about that object, category, family, and type. But Revit also, the reason why Revit is called a parametric tool is because it's a data-rich object. This object contains a lot of information, and that information is visible in the property windows. You don't have to do this, but I'm just gonna push this property window out. And again, I'm gonna select the tree, one of the trees. And this is in properties or parameters that are associated with this instance of a tree. And so this unique piece of tree display all this piece of information. And so these are called instance properties. Again, this is Revit 101. These are properties that are unique to an object. Let's call it element to an element. Instance properties are properties that are specific to an element. And what that means is that this particular tree, the Sirius tree, it's on level 1. It has a relative elevation from that level. It has this phasing information, etc. And then there is another type of other classification of properties that is called the type properties. And you can access the type properties using this button. It's this button that is right below or right next to the category. When you open the type properties, it's another dialog box that display information about the type. So type properties, those are parameters that are common to all elements of the same type. So for those of you who use AutoCAD, a type properties is like the block properties. You change the property of a block and you change it for all the elements of that block, right? You change the size of a block, all the instances in that drawings are going to change automatically. And so type properties are parameters that are common to all the elements of the same type. So every deciduous tree that is a scarlet 42 feet has exactly the same type properties. If I change the type properties, I change them for all. And in this example, the height of this tree this is in millimeters. This is 12,000 millimeters. But if I duplicate that, let's say I do 24,000 millimeters, then all the elements, you notice that all the deciduous trees change its properties. The type properties are the properties of the type. And the instance properties are unique to an object. And so I'm going to undo this because this was just for illustration purposes. Return this here, and I'm going to undo this. But instance properties are unique to a project, to an element. Type properties, element common to all the elements in the type. All right, let's talk about the units. This project, the project that shipped with Revit is created in the metric system, and we can change it to imperial very easily. So to fix the units, go to the Manage tab, and then go to the Units button. The units, it's this icon that has like a little calculator with 2 zeros. And here you have all the different units, all the different unit formats. The ones I want to change is the area. We want to report square foot. And so click on the area button format and change it to square feet. I also want to change the distance. Right now, the distance are measured in centimeters. I want to change it to feet and hit OK. Then I want to change the length. The units of length are feet and fractional inches. Length are the units used by the dimensions. And distance are the units used by like lighting. So yeah, there is a difference between distance and length. So length is feet and fractional inches. These are the global units, and what that means is that these are the global rounding specifications. You can make it round to the nearest half inch, or you can go all the way to 156. All right, those are the ones I'm going to change for now: area, volume, distance, and length. And then hit OK. And that's, notice that Revit doesn't scale anything. I mean, in AutoCAD, I think sometimes you have to apply a scale factor, and the model is going to grow or scale up or scale down. In Revit, you just change the units, and that changes everything. There's no like any need to find out the scale factor according to the scale of the view. So now when I select this tree, for example, and I measure and I look at the height, remember it was reporting a height of 12,000 or 12,000 centimeters, 1,200 centimeters. Now it's all even foot. Any question about units? All right, so let's talk about selection. So when you hover an element, this is called pre-selection. You haven't clicked on top of it, and Revit display information about the object. So this pre-selection, you'll see this blue boundary around the object. And when you click on it, you select it. And when you select it, the property windows display instance information about the object. And then you're going to notice that at the far right end, you have this modify planting tab. And this is called the contextual tab. And this is important. This is the contextual tab. contextual tabs are ways to change and modify elements of a certain category. And so to deselect something, you just hit the escape tool twice. Actually, you have to do it twice. The first escape, cancel the command, and the second escape, cancel the selection.
Caesar, I had a
yeah.
quick question on when you select an object or whatever, like the tree. In my properties tab, there's that top portion that shows the thumbnail and the description, the graphic there. It doesn't show up on mine. If I click in that area, it'll show, but it doesn't show. Yeah, and I can do that, but the actual graphic doesn't come up.
So you do not see this tree.
That's right.
But you see the description.
I don't see, it's just blank between where it says properties and your search bar is right there. But yeah, that whole portion is just blank.
Yeah, and by chance, do you have a 4K monitor, or are you using your laptop? Or what kind of monitor you have?
Good question. I don't know.
It seems it might be a graphic card thing.
Okay.
It's not very important to have this image display. I mean, it's a nice reference, but sometimes when you have like 4K resolution, visual things happen like this. One of the things I recommend people is to apply the latest incremental upgrade, which take care of a lot of little nuances that happen with Revit. And one way to know what is the actual version that you have installed is by clicking the question mark dropdown. There's a little drop-down menu that says about AutoCAD, Autodesk
Right.
Revit. And this will disclose what is the incremental version that you have. And for example, I have 2023.1.2. If you have 2023.0, or that means that you have these hot fixes, the hot fixing hasn't been applied. And I recommend everyone to upgrade to the latest incremental version, because Autodesk realized that there are little things that are not good with the software. And if you download the latest and greatest incremental release, then those get addressed. Let me show you quickly how you do that. In the Windows environment, let me bring it down here. And again, some of you are working from your company workstation. There may be some restrictions about who can get software installed. But if you have full administrative rights to your computer and the ability to download any software, here on the, what is this? Not this one. The tray of icons in Windows should display an icon of the Autodesk logo, and this is the updates. If you see this icon that looks like the Autodesk logo, and you click on it, you're going to see the incremental updates that your machine needs based on the version of products that they have. For example, I have everything installed, so I don't have anything to install, but you can, I'm behind the inventor updates and the infrawork updates, and you don't have to do it right now. Do it at your own time, because it takes time to update. But if you want the latest and greatest incremental thing, just hit the update button and it will fix things on the versions and